And good morning, friends. Welcome to The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for being here. Our number today and every day on The Bright Side, 844-236-6010. If you have questions, comments, success stories you'd like to share, or if you just want to contribute to the conversation, 844-236-6010. We'll get your calls in our next segment. We'll be talking to Mike White of Breathing.com at the bottom of the hour. He's the creator of the Optimal Breathing Self-Mastery Kit. When we control our breathing, we control our awareness, we control our health, we control our life force, we control our energy. Breathing is something that we can learn, and I've been a big believer in breathing as exercise for many, many years. Breathing lowers cortisol, breathing activates the immune system, breathing makes you feel better, breathing lowers blood pressure. I would venture to say that many of our health challenges have at least something to do with the fact that most of us don't know how to breathe. We'll be talking to Mike White about correct breathing and breath awareness at the bottom of the hour. And we'll get your calls in our next segment, 844-236-6010. Mike's website, by the way, is breathing.com. If you want to purchase longevity products, go to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. We've got blog posts, news stories, lots of good health information, and all the longevity products, and a Join the Team link that you can click on if you want to sign up to join the Brightside Ben team. You can also call 866-735-2470 to purchase products or to sign up for a one-time $30 fee and help spread the word about the power and importance of a good nutritional supplement program. You can start a home-based business, earn some money in your spare time, or earn some money in your full-time. A lot of folks are selling longevity products as a full-time business. If that sounds intriguing to you, if you're an entrepreneur or you like the entrepreneur lifestyle, please click the Join the Team link at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com, or call 866-735-2470 for more information. All right, Mike White will be with us at the bottom of the hour. His website, breathing.com. We're going to talk about breath control and good health. We'll get your calls in our next segment, 844-236-6010. So we have been talking, at least on our last program, we talked about beta-glucan, the powerful, simple, non-toxic, inexpensive molecule, long chains of glucose similar to cellulose. It's a kind of fiber with nutritional power. Cellulose and most fibers, those go in the digestive system and they kind of change the chemistry of the intestine. Bacteria feed on them and then you excrete the fiber. Beta-glucan is absorbed into the lymph through the intestine. Quick digression. Glucans are not the same as glycans. Chemistry, every syllable and every letter is significant. The word glycan, Glycan, refers to long chains of sugar, polymers of sugar, whenever you hear the word poly, we're talking about long chains, polysaccharides, you could say. The term glucan refers to specific sugars called glucose. So a glucan is a long chain of glucose. A glycan is just a long chain of any sugar. And while all glycans are known to have activity, and many nutritional glycans are used for all kinds of health reasons, from circulatory health issues, cardiovascular health issues, liver health issues, immune system health issues. Glycans are used in skincare for stimulating cell growth and division and wound healing, anti-aging, wrinkles, and for overall health. Fucoidin is an example of a glycan for you guys who are doing longevity products. We talk about the Z radical and Fucoid Z. Fucoidin is a glycan. Hyaluronic acid is a famous glycan in the skincare world. Glucosamine is a glycan. Chitin and chitosan, we're going to talk about those in a couple of days. Chitin and chitosan are glycans. And the glycome, or the glycobiome, and glycobiology are set to be the next big thing in nutritional chemistry. The science of glycans, the science of how glycans work with health. We've known about them for probably 100 years or so, but they're getting set to be really, really big. Medicine and nutritional supplementation, all of these are going to be supported by glycan chemistry and glycan supplementation. Now, glucans, those are long chains. They're glycans, but they're made up specifically of glucose. The most important, at least the most popular, most well-known, and the most well-researched of the glucans is beta-glucan, which is especially important and incredibly powerful for the immune system. The cool thing about beta-glucan is it is everywhere, and it's relatively inexpensive, and it's non-toxic, and it's multifunctional, and it's medical, and it's healing. It's got so much upside to beta-glucan and no downside. I love supplements like that. I love chemistry that is simple, that's easy, that's non-toxic, that's relatively inexpensive, that's ubiquitous and effective. And beta-glucan checks all the boxes. And it's completely non-toxic. You take as much of the stuff as you want. So beta-glucan is a polysaccharide. It's a long chain of glucose. And polysaccharides in general are important. But beta-glucan in specific is super important. They started researching these glucan molecules in the 19th century. One has noticed that there was that polysaccharides, long chains of sugar, that had a fatty nature. They call them lipopolysaccharides, lipo meaning fatty. In the 19th century, they noticed that lipopolysaccharides that got into the bloodstream were a cause of disease. They called them endotoxins. We've talked about these before. Toxins inside, endotoxins, as inside the circulatory system. These days, LPSs, lipopolysaccharides, are known by medical researchers to be involved in pretty much all chronic illnesses. And lipopolysaccharides are behind all of the problems that are associated with leaky gut syndrome. Talked a lot about lipopolysaccharides in the past. I'm not going to talk too much about it now. But anyway, after studying these LPS, lipopolysaccharide molecules, scientists started to explore what would happen if they took the lipo off and just used the polysaccharide. And then they found out that it was the lipo part that was causing all the problems, and just the polysaccharide was not at all toxic. The LPS was incredibly toxic, but when they took the lipo part off, all they got was a polysaccharide. And they found that not only was it had no toxicity, unlike LPSs, but that it had important therapeutic benefits. One of the early polysaccharide molecules or polysaccharide substances that got researchers' attention was something called zymosan, Z-Y-M-O-S-A-N, which is derived from baker's yeast. And they found that this zymosan stuff had incredible immune activating properties specifically for cancer. According to a March 2018 article in the Journal of Inflammation, zymosan may be helpful for slowing down melanoma, the deadliest of all cancers. Can't really find zymosan too much. However, you can find the active component of zymosan, and that is beta-glucan. So zymosan, they've been studying zymosan for 150 years, but by the 1970s, they realized that it was this beta-glucan stuff that was in the zymosan that was giving the zymosan all of its benefits, and thus began the age of beta-glucan when it comes to boosting the immune system. Of course, now we know a lot about beta-glucan, and it's readily available. All right, 844-236-6010 is our number. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. Mike White coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back right after this. We are back on The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Lines open for you, 844-236-6010. Questions, comments, success stories. We'd love to hear from you, 844-236-6010. Mike White will be with us in our next segment. His website, breathing.com. And Mike is a 79-year-old stud. If you look at his picture here on his website, it's pretty amazing what you can look like and how you can feel at the age of 79. We had Gabriel Cousins on last week, and he's 77 or 78, and he does 1,000 push-ups every couple of days. This is what the human body is capable of. We are setting the bar so darn low on our health, and the medical model has contributed to this. The idea that we have to be medicalized, the idea that we have to be vaccinated, the idea that we have to be pharmacologicalized in order to stay healthy flies in the face of what's obvious when you look at a guy like Mike White or Gabriel Cousins, neither of which are on any prescription drugs. Or for that matter, Dr. Wallach, who's 80 years old, and he's not on any prescription drugs. And up until last year, he was doing 200 to 300 talks every year. The human body is capable of so much. And that's not just true for folks who are getting older. That's also true for folks who are not healthy. If you are not healthy in any way, God forbid if you're dealing with a long-term chronic illness or cancer, the human body is capable of reversal. The human body can turn on a dime, but we got to turn on a dime first. That means getting on a good nutritional supplement program. That means staying away from problem foods, staying away from processed foods, That means learning how to breathe correctly. Fasting is also a great strategy, by the way. I was just reading an article here from the Townsend Letter. Fasting and vitamin C for cancer. Mouse studies show that a fasting mimicking diet increases the anti-cancer effect of high-dose vitamin C therapy. Another article from the Townsend Letter is this is from the most recent, actually from the August issue of the Townsend Letter, which I absolutely love, by the way. Lots of great health information if you're a health junkie like I am. The Townsend Letter, Tonsend, Townsend Letter. Fasting followed by plant foods diet for lymphoma. A 42-year-old woman presented with a palpable mass in her inguinal region, that's around the groin. It was diagnosed as a lymphoma. She refused conventional therapy, underwent a medically supervised 21-day water fast, after which the enlarged lymph nodes were substantially smaller. Surprise, surprise. She then consumed a diet consisting entirely of whole plant foods, free of added sugar and oil and salt. At 6 and 9 month follow-up visits, the patient's lymph nodes were non-palpable. You couldn't feel them, and she remained asymptomatic. CAT scans and PET scans conducted after 3 years found no evidence of active disease. People, we don't have to be condemned to our diagnosis. The human body can reverse anything, no matter what stage you're at. Anyway, I'm Mike White coming up at the bottom of the hour. 844-236-6010 is our number. So, continuing on with one of my favorite supplements, which, by the way, is in the Restart Your Life products, for if you're doing longevity, and that's beta-glucan. Beta-glucan has been on the radar, if you will, since the 1980s, I suppose, late 1970s. Beta-glucan is a fiber, like other fibers, but it can get absorbed into the lymphatic system, and from that point it activates the cells of the immune system. All the cells of the immune system have little tiny receptors, openings, if you will, that beta-glucan can fit into. Beta-glucan fits into the receptor, activates electrical circuitry in that immune system, and the immune system gets jacked up. But that's not all. Beta-glucans in the lymph also have anti-lipid properties, anti-cholesterol properties. In fact, that's where most of the research on beta-glucan is being done, on the anti-cholesterolemic effects, as cholesterol in the blood, as well as the anti-lipidemic, lipids in the blood. The effects of this really stunningly valuable multifunctional soluble fiber. Beta-glucan also supports the elimination of bile. Remember, bile is important for fats, and it's also important for detoxification. Bile, in fact, that's probably bile's, well, I don't want to say it's most important, but it's one of its most important roles is as a detoxifying substance. If you had your gallbladder out, toxicity is going to accumulate. If you have liver problems and you're not making enough bile, again, toxicity is going to accumulate. Bile activates all kinds of metabolic chemistry. Bile is so darn important and so underappreciated. And once it gets attracts old hormones and drugs and other toxins, it's supposed to get eliminated. That's one of the ways we eliminate toxins out of the body. Not only that, but old cholesterol. Bile is composed of cholesterol. And as bile gets eliminated out of the body through the stool, cholesterol levels drop. So helping the excretion of bile is really important. And guess what? That's something else that beta-glucan does. How many benefits can you have from one unbelievably valuable, ubiquitous, non-toxic, relatively inexpensive nutrient? So beta-glucan supports the excretion of bile, which helps detoxification, helps the elimination of estrogen if you're dealing with fibromyalgia or endometriosis, which can be caused by excessive amounts of estrogen metabolites. Beta-glucan can help you there. And beta-glucan has been shown to protect against breast cancer. According to an April 2014 article in the Journal of Oncology, quote, beta-glucan regulates breast cancer-relevant gene expression and may be useful for inhibiting endocrine-resistant breast cancer cell proliferation, unquote. That means it's epigenetic. Beta-glucan regulates genes. How amazing is that? This ubiquitous fiber that's found in pretty much all yeast and bacteria and cereal grains and other plant material. It's an epigenetic factor that turns on and at least regulates, we'll say, turns off breast cancer relevant genes. And you want more? Beta-glucan has been shown to improve the effects of estrogen in estrogen-deficient animals. So you've got the elimination of excess estrogen, and it improves the effects of estrogen if you're estrogen deficient. And that may make it helpful for women who are going through menopause, maybe helpful for hot flashes, or any of the other unpleasant signs of menopause. By the way, I have a new a product coming out, my progesterone, called ProHarmony Progesterone Serum. This is a product I've been working on, formula I've been working on for many years, but really been going whole hog on it this year. ProHarmony Progesterone Serum is really valuable for women who are going through hot flashes. Progesterone is just a super, super underappreciated substance. We're always talking about estrogen when we talk about hormone replacement, but very few people, although more and more people are understanding how valuable progesterone is. But it's not just important for women. I know I'm digressing here a little bit, but progesterone is also important for men, and it's just important for well-being, maybe helpful for men who are dealing with prostate cancer, maybe helpful for bodybuilding. Progesterone is important for bone building. Progesterone is important for libido. Progesterone balances out a lot of the toxic effects associated with estrogen. If you're interested in learning more about my ProHarmony Progesterone Serum, go to SiriusFormulations.com. That's SIRIUS, SiriusFormulations.com. And that's ready for sale now if you want to purchase it now. But probably start going to, well, I'm having a little problem with the website, actually. But check it out. You might, if you're interested in it, you can also send me a note at ben@ksco.com. All right. Mike White, coming up in our next segment, we're going to talk about breathing, the importance of breathing for good health. We'll talk a little bit about breathing for COVID. It was an interesting article that came out a couple days ago about cortisol and how cortisol is leading us astray in this COVID-19 crazy time that we're living in. Mike White, coming up next. Don't go away. Okay, we are back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're on the air Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 Pacific and 10 to 11 Central Time, and 24/7 on the archive page at benfuchsarchives.com, also brightsideben.com. We've got a search engine up if you miss a program, want to review a program. We've got 11 years of daily programs up on our archive pages at benfuchsarchives.com and brightsideben.com. You can find longevity products at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com, as well as blog posts, news stories, videos, lots of good health information on all our websites, and a Join the Team link that you can click on if you want to start a home-based business. You can also call 866-735-2470, 866-735-2470 for more info. And also want to remind you to check out our Truth Skin Health products at truthtreatments.com, all formulated in my compounding pharmacy for healing wounds. Healing wounds, as it turns out, is the same biochemical mechanism as beauty, and all our Truth Skin Health products were originally formulated as pharmacy products for wound healing, now repurposed as beauty products. You can check them all out at truthtreatments.com, and our 1,500 plus 4- and 5-star reviews at truthreviewed.com. Truthtreatments.com for our truth treatments, and truthreviewed.com for all of our reviews. Okay, I am looking forward to speaking to our guest today. Mike White is a breathing coach and founder of breathing.com. I've been getting his emails now for several years, and I've gotten his DVDs, and he knows his stuff. And I'm a big believer in the power of oxygenation and respiration. As you guys know, it's part of the fourfold square of health, and there's a lot of good you can do by correct breathing, but unfortunately, most of us are not breathing correctly. Please welcome to the bright side, Michael Grant White. Hey, Mike.
How you guys doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm looking at your picture here on your website. You are really 79 years old?
Well, so far.
Is that a testimony to it's just breathing, or do you have like other health strategies that you're doing? Looks like you're working out too, right?
Yeah, you got to do gentle exercise. You have to eat right. You know, you have to sleep well. You know, I'll be 80 in February, God willing, and that's all. It's the basic fundamentals. Watch your stress levels, or at least learn how to recover from stress, because sometimes it's just unavoidable.
Were you always the kind of guy who was involved with health, or did you have a health challenge that you had to deal with? What got you into this?
Well, it's a kind of unexciting thing, but when I was 11 years old, I was asked to sing a cappella for my school. I had a good singing voice. And for the next couple of years, I got beat up a lot. My father beat me with a police strap, and I got beat up a lot. And so I lost the ability to sing. So 20 years later, I decided I want to relearn how to sing. And I didn't know anything about breathing, oxygen, emotions, trauma, nothing. And so it was a day-to-day learning process that ended up taking about 20 years.
And did it happen did you notice benefits from breathing right away?
Well, what happened was I wasn't taught breathing. It took me 20 years to home in on breathing. Everybody was giving me singing lessons, well, do this. And, the singing teachers, they have the piano between you and them. So there was no touch. There was no physical guidance. And that's what was missing. So about 1997 or so, I came across Carl Stout and Corolla Speeds. And the two of them were very, they had a lot of very strong similarities. And so I began to glean from them what was going on with breathing. And all of a sudden, my vibrato started to show up. And that was really, really exciting. So one thing led to another. And then I was working on a fellow, and he said, "My God, this is incredible. You say you need a website." So I said, "What's a website?" And we got breathing.com in 1997. And
so
so what?
You were already in your 50s when you got into this.
Correct.
Wow, what did you do before?
Various businesses. We marketed paper hats. I owned a real estate company. We developed real estate.
Nothing with health, though. Nothing with health. It was all just business stuff?
Well, yeah, running breathing.com.
Right.
And,
but breathing.com is breathing.com is your first venture into health.
Yeah, pretty much. Except for my mother was a nutritionist, and she could pass for 35 in her 50s.
Got it.
So she was basically a role model for me, and got me into watching what I ate, which is a big deal.
So what do you suggest people do if they want to experience breathing, the power of breathing? They have a health challenge. What do you suggest people do to just start to dive in? What's the first thing?
Okay. How much time do we have here on this program?
We got about we're going to go to a break in a few minutes, and then we'll have another 15 minutes.
Another 15 minutes, you said?
I say we're going to go to a break in about 4 minutes, and then we'll have another 15 minutes.
Okay, I got you. All right. So basically, it's much easier to watch somebody do something. And so what people can do is they can go to breathing.com and type in the search engine energetic calm, ENERGETIC calm. And I put that up on the site because there's so many people that are teaching breathing that are either over-amping or they're putting them in a state of excessive calm, which can be malaise. And so basically, my focus is to create an energetic calm. Energy, but calm. You get it?
Yeah. I'm intrigued. How do you do it?
Well, that's the thing. You got to watch somebody do
I see.
it. And the video is on that page. There's like 3 videos. And they're basically stemming from the natural breathing reflex that I call the Rosetta Stone of the breath. And you see, there's all kinds of breathing exercises out there. And most of them are misleading because they're not core fundamentals. Remember Vince Lombardi used to say there are no new fundamentals.
It's all basically inhalation and exhalation. Is that what you mean?
No, it's really the passive reflex, the passive breathing reflex. It's like when somebody says, take a deep breath, they're really stimulating the sympathetic nervous system when they do that.
Right. The inhale is stimulating. The heart rate goes up, etc.
The inhale is stimulating and the exhale is relaxing. So, but how do you create relaxation without stimulation? That's
Yeah.
the art form.
So,
That's
so
the art form.
in other words, you don't want to overamp with the inhalation. I always tell people to maximize the exhalation. You think that's good advice?
Say that again.
I always tell people to maximize the exhalation. Like you want to put out.
When you maximize the exhalation, you have to create tension. You don't want to create tension when you're dealing with a natural breathing reflex.
Aha. So you don't want to feel like a push when you're exhaling. Is it it's supposed to just naturally come out?
No, you don't want to do a push. When you do a push,
Got it.
That's creating sympathetic nervous system.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hang on, Mike. We got to take a commercial break. We'll come back and we'll continue this. It's very interesting. So the exhalation, how you do it, it's not that simple. There's technique that's involved. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're talking to Mike White, his website, breathing.com.
Would you like to get back?
All right, we're back on the bright side, talking to Mike White. His website is breathing.com. So, Mike, breathing is not as easy as you would think. There's like some technique in their strategy. Tell us a little bit more about this idea of passive versus active. Like, where are you passive and where are you active in the breathing process?
Okay. Well, the issue really is sympathetic nervous system versus parasympathetic nervous system. So anytime you force an inhale or force an exhale, you're stimulating SNS, sympathetic nervous system. And that can be good, can be bad, depending. But it's not fundamental, and it leads people astray in many different ways. Box breathing, for instance, can be helpful, but it's basically massive sympathetic stimulation. The drug industry, when they give somebody an opioid or whatever they do to calm them down, they're really reducing sympathetic nervous system. What they really ought to be doing is strengthening parasympathetic nervous system. The emphasis needs to be on parasympathetic, not sympathetic.
It's interesting. The opioids suppress respiration, don't they?
Say that again?
The opioids have a suppressant effect on the respiration.
Oh, yes. And also they're misleading because they're reducing sympathetic, which is doing nothing for parasympathetic. And yes, of course, parasympathetic and proper respiration are intertwined.
How about breathing in the digestive system? Because there's parasympathetic and sympathetic control over the digestive system. So how about breathing?
Okay, well, basically you talk about parasympathetic in terms of rest, digest, and heal. You don't heal being chased by a tiger.
Right.
You heal when you can stop, relax, calm down, and then let the parasympathetic nervous system dominate.
So by correct breathing techniques, you can activate the parasympathetic nervous system is what I'm hearing you say, correct?
Exactly. And that's where you should start. Because if you don't, you're going to miss the healing part. You're going to miss the strongest part of the healing activation of your nervous system. And it's totally overlooked. It's just amazing how often, where they say, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. Okay, well, that can work for a while, but there's a crossover period when it doesn't work anymore. So the take a deep breath, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. It just gets to a point where it doesn't do any good anymore. And then you're really in trouble.
Go ahead. What kind of breathing would you suggest for people when they're for working out, like for exercise? Because you don't want to be relaxed. You don't want to be too parasympathetic, I assume, when you're working out.
You can't. Basically, what you do there is you nose breathe. You focus on nose breathing. Your nose breathing is better, of course, but when you're exercising, you notice a lot of runners these days. If you watch the Olympics, you see a lot of them nose breathe as much as they can. Maybe up until the last 50 yards in a 400-meter race, or they just basically try to nose breathe as much as they can. You got vasodilation, you got moisturizing, you got nitric oxide production when you nose breathe. It's all gone when your mouth breathes. So basically, when you're exercising, try to stay with a nose breathe. We've got a big article on breathing.com about nose breathing. There's a lot of other reasons that we won't have time to get into, but just go there, type in nose breathing, and you'll get a ton of information.
Is it ever appropriate to mouth breathe?
Is what?
Is it ever appropriate to mouth breathe?
Well, yeah, there's a point in time when you have no choice.
Right,
but as soon as you mouth breathe, you're bypassing all the benefits of nose breathing. There are very few benefits of mouth breathing other than volume.
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically you're running out of breath, you're overstressed, and you have no choice but to mouth breathe. Like I said, with a runner, you're in the last
Mm-hmm.
last 100 yards of a mile race. You're going to get it however you can.
Where does sleep apnea fit into the picture?
Oh, good. Well, sleep apnea, basically, if you're breathing incorrectly during waking hours, that's going to carry over into sleep. So that's how you begin to change sleep apnea, is you train yourself to breathe properly while you're awake, and then when you go to sleep, it goes into automatic.
So you can prevent sleep apnea by practicing breathing techniques during the day.
Absolutely.
Interesting. So you have a thing. You have something on your website about test. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
One caveat on that is that a lot of times sleep apnea has an upper respiratory issue. It's your jaw, your teeth, the way you're sleeping. If you're sleeping on your back, your jaw goes back and closes off your glottis. So you've got to have some wisdom. We have a sleeping and snoring part of our breathing kit. So you want to learn more about that, you get the breathing kit.
How about posture?
Posture is absolutely critical. Here's an interesting exercise. Just sit up and take a big deep breath. Just try that now. Sit up and take a big deep breath.
Okay.
Now, just get a sense of what that feels like. Okay. Now, bend over and try to take a big deep breath.
You can't do it really.
Well, yeah. What's the difference?
It stops.
Posture is the difference.
Yeah. So slouching and holding your body down will impede the ability to take a deep breath.
Exactly.
Wow.
So the more you bend over forward, the harder it is for you to take a deep breath. And when you take a deep breath, you have to put more force, which means you have to put more sympathetic into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like a vicious circle, because if you're slouching, you're not going to breathe as well. You're probably going to end up slouching more, and you're not going to breathe as well, and it'll just keep spiraling downward. You can break it by holding your shoulders up and keeping your posture right, correct?
Exactly. Your muscles begin to adapt. Your deep and superficial fascia becomes fibrous, and so you start to get locked into that position.
Wow. How about like cortisol and mood, dopamine and serotonin, that sort of thing, neurotransmitters?
What about them?
How does that fit into correct breathing?
Well, it's parasympathetic.
Gotcha.
So the more you mess around with sympathetically tainted parasympathetic, the more you compromise all that.
All right, on your website, you have a free. We're going to run out of time here. We only have a minute. I want to talk about this free testing. Tell us a little bit about how that works.
Well, basically, there's 4 skills that we've created that we've seen that tie into good health. And so the first 4 questions or tests in the breathing test have to do with those skills. And we've seen that the test answers, people have taken those tests, about 85,000 people. When they get really good scores in those tests, you see they don't record diagnosed illnesses, or very few. The worse the scores in the tests that are recorded, the more diagnosed illnesses are mentioned.
And that's all on breathing.com. And then once people get the testing done, how can they move forward from there?
Well, they do the test, and then they get a free consult with me.
Gotcha. And do you do like custom programs for folks?
Oh yeah. We've had the breathing kit. The breathing kit has over 40 exercises and techniques in it, and they've been broken down into 10 different themes. sleeping and snoring, speaking and singing, meditation, the focus and concentration, you know.
How about the devices?
What? Oh, you mean the tools?
Yeah, I noticed you have a lot of tools on there.
Oh, yeah. The tools, one of them is a long strap, 12-foot long strap, made out of seatbelt material. You cannot use a yoga strap. People try it, and they just don't get anywhere. And it shows you how to use that strap to release tension in your rib cage, so that all of a sudden your breathing volume and your breathing ease increases in a matter of minutes.
Mike, that was very, very instructional. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the bright side. The website's breathing.com. Anything last words, Mike?
And what?
Any last words? We got about 30 seconds.
My last words would be, don't assume you're breathing correctly.
I love it.
You can develop skills to improve your breathing. I don't care what your condition is.
Thank you so much, Mike. Have a beautiful day, buddy. That was Mike White's website, breathing.com, and that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side, friends. I am Pharmacist Ben. Have a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to you later, folks. Bye for now.